Hello and welcome to CIPP's National Payroll Week 2025. My name is Gemma Mullis and I'm the EPA Manager at IPP Education. Today we'll be exploring what if payslips aren't enough with our speakers Malc Cotton, Lisa Ash and Grant MacDonald. You're really encouraged to submit your questions at any time using the Q&A tab at the top of your screen. If you accidentally post them in the chat, don't worry, our events team will be able to transfer them over to the Q&A area. You can also upvote these questions for the ones that you're most interested in, and this will help us to prioritise them at the end of the session, where we will address any questions that you do ask. So now I'm going to hand over to our speakers for them to introduce themselves.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Grant MacDonald. I'm Director of Experian's Fraud and Anti-Money Laundering Market Engagement. I'll maybe pass over to Lisa just for a quick introduction.
Hi, everyone. Yes, Lisa Ash. I work in our verifications team looking after data partnerships, primarily with the NHS sector. And I'll pass over to Malc.
Hi, Malc Cotton. I'm Data Acquisition Manager, looking after direct customers who need our services and working alongside one of my colleagues, Kane, in our Partnerships division.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Malc. So each year, Experian conducts two major UK surveys. The first one surveys 2,000 consumers. The second one surveys 200 businesses, and their insights feed into our annual UK fraud and financial crime report. And this year, 59% of the businesses that we surveyed reported an increase in their fraud losses. And during the same period, when we have a look at the National Fraud Database, we can see that 421,000 reported cases of fraud was submitted. Now that represents a 13% increase. That 13% is notable. It's the biggest increase we've ever seen on record. And there is a reason for that, and it's Gen AI. So of the businesses that we surveyed, 35% have come back saying that they've been impacted by fraud that's emanated from Gen AI. That's up from 23% last year. So you might be wondering, why is this relevant for me? Well, unfortunately, this is impacting your employees because of the advent of Gen AI being used to create fake payslips. That's causing a particular problem for lenders. It's eroding trust. And there's an unintended consequence. What we're finding now is lenders increasingly are now going to your departments, to payroll departments, to get payslips and confirmation of employment so they can be absolutely certain around the authenticity that an employee is working for you and the stated income is accurate. So to kind of illustrate this, I first wanted to show a press release. It's a couple of years old. It's back in 2023. And this press release was stating that if we have a look at tenancy fraud, over 50% of tenancy fraud involved fake payslips. These two gentlemen here, Larry Barreto and Tassib Hussain, they were sentenced to 2 years in prison last year for mortgage fraud. And a key MO in their fraud was the use of fake payslips. Why is this happening then? Well, the first reason is that fraudsters will do this to artificially inflate their income, improving their chances of passing affordability assessments. The second reason is it's easy. So Gen AI now produces a level of accuracy. So if you have a look at the net, the year-to-date, the gross earnings, even the tax bands, what's being provided back makes it very, very difficult to scrutinise anomalies and suspicious payslips. So as part of this presentation today, we wanted to show you what we're coming across. So in this example here, on your left, we've got a Gen AI generated letter of employment from Asda, confirming that this individual was working as a cashier from the 1st of May 2020 through to the 17th of June 2024. And on the right, we've got a Gen AI payslip that, again, it supports that brand. Now, what I didn't want to do today is just show you pre-canned examples. I was genuinely curious about actually how easy is it to create these fake payslips using Gen AI. So I went into my favorite GPT. It happens to be Gemini, and I put in the question. So I've got this webinar today. I want you to help me prepare. Help me understand what kind of websites can I use to create a fake payslip that can pass the scrutiny of a lender. And it directed me to this website here, template.net. You see at the top, it offers free AI payslip generation. And I entered in this prompt. So generate a payslip for Tom Cruise, Director of Risk. He's working for Experian in Nottingham. Now, it thought about the request. It took about 2 minutes to build this out. And what was produced, I think, is pretty impressive. So you can see here a payslip, top left, we can see that Tom Cruise is the Director of Risk. We've got Experian's branding on here. But again, if you've got a keen and astute eye, have a look at the level of detail that sits within. Hopefully, you'll agree it would pass your scrutiny. So this is having a ripple effect. It's impacting your consumers, employees adversely. When somebody's applying for a loan, a mortgage, or a credit card, it's delaying the process. But then, as I said at the very beginning, the second thing that's happening is that it's putting more undue pressure on your teams, where you're having to facilitate and administer an increasing number of requests from lenders to provide payslip and confirmation of employment. So that's not the only problem that we wanted to speak to you about today. There's a second issue. Lisa's going to talk to you now about employees, consumers who got a thin credit file. Lisa.
Thanks, Grant. So, hi everyone. So yes, I'd like to talk to you today about something that affects more of your workforce than you might expect, their credit file. So whenever someone applies for credit, whether it's for a personal loan, a mortgage, or even something as simple as a mobile phone contract, they give the lender permission to check their credit file. And this file is a summary of their financial behaviour compiled by credit reference agencies like Experian. And it includes key information such as whether they have a current account or credit card, their payment history on household bills, whether they're registered on the electoral roll, mobile phone contracts they may hold, and potentially rental payment data. Now, lenders use this information to assess the risk of lending money to someone. But here's the challenge. Individuals don't start with a credit profile, they have to build one. And building a credit profile takes time. So typically it requires 3 to 6 months of consistent financial activity to establish a meaningful credit history. And to build a credit profile, individuals need to engage in activities such as opening a current account, paying utility bills in their own name, registering on the electoral roll, or getting a mobile phone contract. Let me just go on out. Sorry, Grant. So not until they take these steps, or if their credit profile remains thin, meaning there's limited data on that individual, lenders are going to struggle to assess risk. And when lenders can't assess risk, they often decline applications. So this could result in credit applications being rejected, higher interest rates being offered, or difficulty accessing basic services like phone contracts or rental agreements. And there's also a challenge for those on lower incomes. So in fact, individuals earning less than £20,000 a year are more than twice as likely to have a thin credit file compared to the UK average. Now, so this means that financial exclusion isn't just about age or where you live, it's also about your income level. Now, while this situation can affect anyone, two groups are especially vulnerable. One being young people who are just entering the workforce, and the other new arrivals to the UK. So this could include international employees, expats, those on graduate schemes or secondments. And these individuals often lack a UK-based financial history. So even if they're financially responsible, they may struggle to prove it. And this is where the challenge begins, not just for them, but for you as their employer. Go on a slide, please, Grant. So as payroll specialists, is that moving on? Sorry, I can't see. Yes, apologies. So as payroll specialists, your role goes beyond ensuring accurate and timely pay. You're also in a unique position to support employee well-being. by understanding these broader financial challenges your workforce may face. And one of these challenges is financial exclusion caused by a thin credit profile, which disproportionately affects certain employee groups, as I've already mentioned. So if your organisation runs graduate schemes, relocates staff to the UK, hires individuals who are new to country, then some of your employees may be facing hidden barriers to accessing basic financial services. This is particularly true for new to country professionals who often arrive without that UK-based financial footprint that the lenders rely on to assess creditworthiness. And these employees may not yet have a UK current account, may not have any utility bills in their name, and they're unlikely to be registered on the electoral roll. And without these foundational elements, their credit file appears empty or thin. So even if they had a strong financial history in their home country. And this lack of UK specific data makes it difficult for lenders to assess risk. And as a result, these individuals are more likely to be declined for credit. They may be offered less favourable terms, such as higher interest rates or lower credit limits. And they're going to struggle to access everyday financial products like overdrafts or personal loans. And the scale of this is actually quite significant. We estimate around 5 million adults in the UK may be affected by having a thin credit file. That's roughly 1 in 10 people. And while anyone can be impacted, the data shows these two groups are most likely to struggle with being credit invisible. So this includes nearly 3 million young people and 1.2 million new to country workers. So, for example, in a workforce of 1,200 employees, that's around 100 individuals that could be facing this challenge right now. Now, the FCA's Financial Life survey last year adds some further context to this. So they found 28% of UK adults, that's around 15 million people, applied for regulated credit in the previous 2 years. And of those, 22% were declined, which equates to just over 3 million. And among those declined, 47% said their credit history contributed to the rejection. So this really sort of highlights how widespread and impactful thin credit files can be. And the implications of this are real for employees. So they may find it difficult to rent or buy a home, get a mobile phone contract, access broadband services. So sort of a few examples, renters with thin credit files may be asked to pay up to 12 months rent in advance. Consumers who are unable to access a standard mobile phone contract might be forced onto a sort of pay-as-you-go or a rolling 1 month plan. And this can cost up to £200 more a year than a typical 24-month contract. Those with limited credit history may only qualify for specialist credit cards, and interest rates are often sort of 5% higher than standard offers. We also see that most retail finance companies require their applicants to have been a UK resident for at least 3 years. So this further compounds that issue for new to UK arrivals. Now, these barriers can lead to financial stress, which directly impacts employee well-being and productivity. In fact, 12% of UK private sector workers have missed work due to financial stress, and 64% of employers cite high rent costs as a risk to employee financial well-being. So as payroll professionals, you are uniquely positioned to help identify and support employees facing these challenges that affect both the individual and your organisations. And by understanding the impact of thin credit files and advocating financial wellbeing initiatives, you can help reduce stress, improve employee retention, and contribute to a more inclusive and supportive workplace. So now I'm going to hand over to Malk, who's going to take us through how Experian solution is designed to help tackle these challenges head on. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa and Grant. Two really insightful sessions, two very different topics. I think Gen AI and financial exclusion are key challenges that employees face when using payslips to complete financial tasks, like applying for a mortgage or unsecured credit, for example. I really want to talk about some of the pain points that we see for employees, more importantly, how Experian's helping to really solve those issues. When it comes to accessing credit in the UK, it's not quite as straightforward as you might think. Millions of employees are missing out on the right financial products, and often at better rates, simply because employers don't realise that just providing a payslip isn't enough for lenders to make fair and favourable credit decisions. Lisa touched on financial exclusion, credit invisibility, and the challenges that employees face during major financial life events. So let's talk about the admin journey before diving straight into the solution. As you've heard from Grant earlier, your employees, the process is often slow, heavily manual, and digitally risky. We're talking about delays, fraud, phishing scams, and simple human errors like sending the wrong payslip or even just a typo in a reference letter. This all creates digital risk. There's also serious security concerns when documents are shared via unsecure email with lenders. That's a real concern when it comes to identity theft. Digital verification can change all of that. For employers, it reduces the burden on the payroll teams, cuts down on admin, and keeps the financial journey moving smoothly, especially when timing is critical. Now, I know that many of you on this call have already got systems in place to share PDF payslips securely with your employees. But as you've heard today, there's still honestly a better way for your current and past employees to share sensitive personal income data with those lenders than over email. Your business doesn't send them by email, so why should you expect your employees to do so? In terms of fraud, Experian Work Report eliminates document manipulation and fraud risk because the data comes directly from the source, not manually from the employee. And that means no inflated income, no underreported expenses, and no affordability miscalculations that could put those repayments and ultimately your employees' mental health at risk as a result. And for lenders, it means more trust, less fraud, faster and potentially more favourable decisioning outcomes for your employees as well. And for HR and payroll teams, it means fewer requests, less admin, and more time back for value-added tasks, especially when it relates to employees who've long left the business. Today, it's thought about 80% of employees now apply for financial products online and not in person. So real-time digital verification isn't just a nice to have, it's essential and totally expected by your employees. We no longer have to wait for our camera film from holiday to get developed down at the chemist for 2 weeks, like back in the 1980s. So we certainly don't expect mortgage decisioning to be taking 2 weeks here in 2025 either. The working population expect and deserve instant results when technology is there to deliver it. I hope you agree. Financial journeys shouldn't just disrupt our payroll operations. Your employees should be really enjoying a frictionless, secure and stress-free journey. Everyone deserves to feel financially included and have access to fairer and faster credit decisioning. And with the Experian Work Report, we can actually make that dream a reality for your business and for your employees. So together, we can transform financial access through this award-winning innovation. Let's solve this together once and for all. So let's talk about Experian Work Report and how we make this easier for everybody. You'll see across the top here that we've already connected to most of the UK's major payroll providers, which makes this really easy. So how does it work? Well, it's really straightforward. When an employee or past employee, more importantly, applies for online credit, the lender will ask them to confirm their current or past employment or income. The employee gets a prompt, and like the one that you see on the mobile screen here, or a laptop if preferred, the employee just simply gives their consent in one click to share the required information. From there, Work Report steps in. It securely pulls all the necessary details straight from your payroll system, securely sends that to Experian, and then the lender verifies the information that we've provided and moves the application forward. It's all private, secure, and incredibly quick and simple. And it's not just for credit applications either. This same process can be used for things like employment screening, utility account setups, tenancy agreements, and even online lenders or price comparison sites. And the best part is that the whole verification process takes seconds, not minutes, hours, or even days. So if you've heard from Grant, you've heard from Lisa and myself, and now you're thinking about getting connected to Work Report, and there are dozens of other benefits we've not covered and don't have time to today, we can share more with you. You're in great company. Over 1 million organisations just like yours are already connected, helping support more than 16 million UK employees already with smoother, faster financial experiences. So if you're now ready, it's simple to get started. But first, I really think it's important to understand why you should do it. It helps your employees when it matters most. Like Lisa said, whenever they're applying for a mortgage, a loan, or a new rental, Work Report keeps their financial journey moving quickly and smoothly with no delays or stress. It's got faster, fairer credit decisioning from those lenders. And when it comes to data security, we've totally got you covered. We know how important it is for you to protect your employees' information. It's something that we take extremely seriously at Experian. It's what we do every single day all over the world with modern, secure and convenient data sharing. You also heard from Grant about fraudsters and data vulnerability. So before I leap into how to get your hands on this truly amazing solution, I just link this back to the very points and specifically how we keep you and your employees safe. We're the UK's leading credit bureau. We handle more consumer data than anyone else on this planet. And we totally share your commitment to keeping that data as safe as our own. We've been doing this successfully, supporting employers and their employees with Work Report since 2023. And all employment income data stays within your environment, unlike other solutions where a whole data dump of your entire payroll into a cloud on a server somewhere takes place. It's not what we do. Is only accessed when an employee gives clear, informed consent for each individual's specific employment and income verification only. We only request the minimum data needed for the type of validation requested, and that data is shared privately from the business that the employee chooses, like a mortgage lender. And the data is only used for that specific purpose and only once. Everything's fully encrypted, transferred securely, and data is stored strictly only for customer queries and audit purposes, not reused for any purpose by anyone else. And of course, the entire process is fully GDPR compliant, as you'd fully expect. Next slide, please. If you see your payroll provider on the left, then it's really easy for you to just switch this solution on. All you need to do is contact your account manager, your payroll software vendor, for details on how to do that. It's really simple. If you're using SAP, Workday or Oracle, it's slightly different process, but just let us know and we can personally help guide you through the connection journey. It's really simple and we do most of the work for you anyway. If you don't see your payroll software vendor here or bureau, don't worry, just let us know and we can advise you on how or when you may be able to get connected, because we're already engaging with many of these providers and releasing APIs frequently for this solution. Best of all, it's totally free to you, it's free to your employees, and it's fully funded by UK lenders to help them give your employees fairer and faster access to credit. So again, to recap, you've heard from Lisa and Grant on the rise of Gen AI and increased scrutiny on documents, thin credit files and financial exclusion for those that have got no credit history, and how simple and secure, fast and easy this solution is. The other remaining question for you is, when can you turn it on? So we'll put the web form link in the chat before you leave the call, or you can scan the QR code on the next slide to register your interest, and we'll be in touch with more information and next steps. So thank you for joining the call today. Now over to Laura for your submitted questions.
Thank you. That was a great and really informative webinar, so thank you all for that. So we have received some questions in, so I will start with one to Grant. So Grant, what fraud type should we be most concerned about?
Jim, I would say that the thing I'm worried about the most right now is actually social engineering. I know some of you will have heard about the data breach that hit Marks and Spencer and the Cooperative Bank. And for those of you who don't know, that's where a fraudster phoned up to their IT department and persuaded the IT function that they worked for Marks and Spencer's, they worked for Co-op, and enabling a password change. And that it was that allowed them to get into the system. So whilst I think companies like Experian were making huge investments in technologies to keep you safe, I think the biggest threat is your employees and how vulnerable they are to the wizardry of these fraudsters who employ social engineering to persuade you to expose yourself, really. So I'd say that would be my number one, Gemma.
Wow, that's I didn't know that's how they got in. So that's really interesting. Thank you. Lisa, what role do the payroll departments play in helping employees establish that financial credibility?
Well, I think as I said in my presentation, really think that sort of payroll teams, specialists, you're really uniquely positioned because you manage this very consistent, trusted source of data. So this verified income and employment information, and that is the data that is critical for the lenders to assess creditworthiness. So if you allow your employees to share that data directly with the lenders, then it's going to give them that sort of faster access and verified access to a number of financial products, as Malc explained.
Fab. And then to you, Malc, do we have to tell our employees how to use Work Report or get them to opt in, or is it ready available once the employer signs up?
Employers, beyond the implementation, which is 2 hours on average to do, there's nothing for the employer or the employee to do, really. When the employee goes through an online application, typically the lender will send a link via their app or form to say, do you consent? And it's just one click. That's all the employee has to do. So there's no burden on the employee, the employer, the HR team, the payroll team. That's one of the beauties of this, is that I think I touched on it earlier, that you've got past employees that are taking up time for the current staff. So it's a great solution.
It sounds really good. I wish I had something like that personally when I was taking out my mortgage, rather than having to download all my payslips, scan them all in. So yeah, that sounds great. Let's see if we've got any more questions in here. Okay, someone's asking if Experian has access with the individual consent to a person's earnings, would this be something that would be available on their credit report, therefore removing the requirement of providing proof of earnings?
To answer that, so I think what they're asking, whether it impacts their credit report, is it doesn't. So this is completely separate to the credit side of the business, and our credit bureau. It's directly accessing your payroll information. It's just accessing that income and employment information, and for whatever the purpose may be. So your example of taking out a mortgage, and only the relevant data for that mortgage application is shared with that one lender, with nobody else. So the data isn't shared with Experian and used in your credit profile anyway. So no, completely separate.
That's great. Okay. Does anyone have any more questions? I think that's all we've got. So a copy of the recording and the slides will be sent to you all. Thank you all to our speakers again. I think it's been a really great and interesting session. So part of National Payroll Week, we are excited to offer a promotion on our membership. So if you use the code NPWMEM when joining as a new member, you'll get 20% off your first year, plus the £50 admin fee will be waived. This applies only to new members for the first year only, and renewals will be at the standard price. So if you would like to claim this offer, please email membership@cipp.org.uk, as this offer isn't actually available when you apply online. If you do want more information about membership levels, benefits, and have any other inquiries, please do also contact our membership team. And if you haven't already registered, there are some more webinars going on this week, so please pop over to the website and sign up for those. We really hope that you enjoyed all of your National Payroll Week celebrations, and please don't forget to tag us in any of your social media posts. Have a fantastic rest of the week, and thank you again to you all today.